Good
Morning,
morning.
Kauthar. Morning, Danya.
Hi, good morning, everyone.
Danya, I was wondering for ages, I was like, oh my God, who is Shinx? Do I let them in?
I
Do I
don't know
not?
why. I don't know why it keeps logging me in as Shinx. It's so embarrassing. Every meeting I go into, it goes Shinx.
If it wasn't for you WhatsApping me being like, I'm in the waiting room, I was like, oh, Shinx, Shinker, I get it. Perfect. So welcome everyone this morning. I think one or two of the designers are running a bit late, so they'll join us in a bit, but we're going to kick off the session. So today we're very lucky to have Mia with us, who's going to talk everything tech-wise. As usual, guys, when she's going throughout, make sure to ask loads of questions, feel free. But Mia, if you want to give like maybe a little introduction to yourself and what you do with Meta or Facebook or
Meta. Yeah, of course. So hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today and tonight. Just for me to know, you're all based in Saudi, which means it's still very early where you are. Yeah. Okay. So thank you, like double thanks for joining this early. And before I introduce myself, I just wanted to personally apologize for what happened last week. Trust me, it was an innocent mistake. I just confused the timing. But yeah, so thank you again for making the time to attend this session. My name is Mia. I am the solutions manager at Meta. Now we're called Meta. I am basically the go-to person for anything related to media strategy, optimizing the campaigns, ensuring basically that whatever clients are investing on our family of apps, they are doing it the right way. They have the right knowledge behind it, the right education, and they are making the best decisions to get the best outcome possible. And I manage the CPG and retail verticals. In CPG, particularly focused on beauty, fashion, and luxury. And I handle the MENA region, and Shalhoub Group is also part of the big advertisers that I manage as well. So pleasure to meet you all. That said, today I think is the last workshop of the whole series you have with Meta. So today we're going to tackle particularly the targeting capabilities on our family of apps. So how can you reach the people you want to reach best, and also how you can track them, not by tracking users particularly, but how you can track the conversions or the impact that your campaigns are generating, get more insights about your audiences, and basically how can you report on all the on your success and your online campaigns. Okay, which I think would be very useful as you guys are kicking off your businesses as well. So with that said, I start sharing my screen. Please let me know if you can see it, but for some reason, Outlook is now asking me to update everything, but I don't want to update it. Okay.
Mia, just before you start in as well, I might just, because I don't think you've met the designers before. So I might just...
I did, I think when Milad was presenting.
Okay. So are you okay? Do you want to get them to give a one-liner to yourself? Danya is dying to tell you all about her.
Yeah.
So just for the purpose, I think, especially because there could be questions around their audiences and I guess just to get a little bit more insight. So Danya, if you want to kick off and just introduce yourself.
Sure. So my name is Danya and I'm the owner of Danya Shankar. We're a sustainable and contemporary back brand.
Okay.
Perfect. Mo?
Okay, I'm Mo. I'm not the designer, but I am the brand manager. We're Proud Angelus. We're a streetwear, ready-to-wear brand focused on individualism.
Perfect. And Dalal, you came in just in time to introduce yourself.
Hi, good morning. Okay, so I'm Dalal. I'm the co-founder of Cones and Rods, a sustainable luxury eyewear brand that focuses on limited edition production and using raw materials. Our products are mainly manufactured in Japan.
Okay.
Amazing. Okay, perfect. So if you want
to... So many sustainable designers here, which is awesome.
Amazing.
Okay. Pleasure to meet you, and I hope you guys will find this session useful. And of course, we have the office hours. Proud Angeles, we were supposed to have a one-on-one. So happy to have that again anytime this week, whenever you are available.
Okay, we'll reschedule with Sinead.
Cool. Okay, I didn't start sharing my screen, right? Right. Okay, 1 second. Can you see my PowerPoint? Yeah? Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. So as I said, today we'll be covering targeting, basically. So who are the people you want to target and how can you reach them? And then we're going to move into what we call signals, which is all the assets and tools that we provide advertisers on how to best target your audience, get more insights about your audience, know how many purchases your campaigns are generating, and basically how you can use that information for your online activations. So let's start first with people-based targeting. So with Facebook, or now Meta, you can actually deliver people-based marketing at every stage of the consumer journey. So whether you are starting with your business in first raising awareness, and then maybe generating some leads, acquiring new customers, retaining new customers, or leading to an actual transaction at the end, or overall on all steps of the journey, trying to build satisfaction and loyalty, we offer. Hello.
1 second, Jude. Can you pop yourself on mute?
I was in the airport.
We can hear Lena. I'll 1 second unmute her. Okay, carry on.
Okay, so wherever you are at this in the user journey, and wherever you are as a business, whatever your goal is, we offer the tools for you to reach your customer at any step of the way, right? And we have different targeting suites. So we have 3 main things. We have the core audience, which is basically the main target audience that you want to reach, that is as broad as possible and based on a few inputs that you can add from Facebook. We have what we call custom audiences, which are, let's say, a pool of people who you know a few things about and you want to make sure that you want to target them. And then in that case, here comes, for example, the consideration targeting or the lower funnel targeting. So people you know are interested in your product, but you want to retarget them to make them maybe actually complete the purchase. And then you have the lookalikes. The lookalikes are a type of audience that have similar attributes to people you know things about. So for example, I have a list of people who bought Proud Angeles clothes, for example, in the past 6 months, okay? So I would create a custom audience out of this list of people, and I would retarget them for something specific. So this would be called a custom audience, right? If I want to create an audience that have very similar attributes to these people who I know would buy my product, I would create a lookalike audience out of this seed audience or out of this custom audience, and I would target them based on the values and attributes that I want in the target audience that I have. Okay, so we have 3 things in general. We have the core audience, which is basically the broad audience based on people's interests, on people's behavior, maybe some demographics, age, gender, languages, etc. And then we have the custom audience, who I know more about and I have more data about, and I can actually leverage my first this custom audience and then retarget or target those people. And then I have the lookalikes option, which helps me create an audience that has the most similar attributes to the core audience that I want and that I know. Okay. So starting first with the core audience and how you can use that targeting tool by using Facebook data particularly. So as I said, a core audience can be based off of, you can create a core audience based on different things. So you can first target specific locations. So you can choose, I want to target people who are in Jeddah or who are in Riyadh or who are in Saudi Arabia. Or if I want to go international as well, I can target multiple countries at the same time. And you can also target people who live in the location or who recently have been in this location, or people who are traveling to this location. And the way Meta or our system recognize this is through the IP address, in case you are wondering or you are curious to know. And then you have the interest targeting, which is, as the name is clear and obvious here, it's based on interest. So I want to target people who are interested in sustainable fashion, for example. You can just write it here, as you can see in the screenshot here. You can say like sustainable fashion or sustainability or brands or anything that comes to mind that you think defines your target audience. You can input it in the system here, so that this way you are telling the system, I want to target people who live in, let's say, Saudi Arabia, or who live in Riyadh or Jeddah particularly, who are interested in sustainability or sustainable fashion, or any interest that comes to mind. The system will do exactly that. So anything that you input in the system, this is what the system would do. This is what the system would optimize for. And I keep saying system because in the back end, we have an algorithm and a machine that basically learns as much as possible from the data that you are giving them, so that they optimize for the best possible outcome for your business. Another thing as well that you can leverage is targeting on particular devices and connections. So whether you want to target people only on desktop, let's say, which I highly doubt that would be the case, or maybe on mobile devices only, or maybe on specific operating systems. So let's say you think that your target audience is mainly those who have Android devices or those who have iOS devices. You can even narrow it down and filter it to that extent. Like it's very detailed, and there are unlimited things that you can do. And you can also not just include things you want to target, so not just include interests, include devices, or include locations. You can also exclude. So you can say, I want to target everyone except those who are, I'm saying anything on an iOS device, for example. So both options are there. Now, of course, when you are launching your business, we would recommend to go as broad as possible, or maybe let me rephrase it, maybe give the system less restrictions so that the system can optimize properly with as much signals as possible. Okay. So that's for the core audience. Now, keeping in mind what we learned about the core audience, how you can target based on demographics, locations, interests, etc., you can still apply the same filters even when we are leveraging custom audiences or lookalikes. So for example, as we said, custom audiences is based on first-party data that the advertiser has. So let's say I am any business, okay, and I have my first-party data based on my CRM. I know for a fact that people bought my product in the past 6 months. I would have it in an Excel sheet. Let's say I would upload it. There's a section where you can upload this on the system, and you would create the custom audience, and then you would add it in your targeting while creating your campaign. And then maybe you can also filter by the specific location. You want to just target females within that custom audience, etc. So everything that we mentioned for the core audience, which is based on gender, demographics, devices, connections, etc., everything is still applicable on the custom audiences and the lookalikes. But the only difference is that with custom audience data, you actually are leveraging your CRM data, your first-party data, which makes it more refined for your business specifically. And when we talk about custom audiences, the source is not just first-party data or CRM database. You can also create a custom audience based on your website or your mobile app. We will go in details about the pixel, what a pixel is and what an SDK is. Essentially, a pixel and an SDK, it's a piece of code that you add on your website or your app that tells you what people are doing. So for example, Sinead is on the website of the Proud Angeles brand, okay? If you have the pixel installed properly on your website, she would know, for example, user X, if he or the business would know if user X, or Sinead in that case, went to the website, saw something specifically, added something to cart, maybe, and then just dropped out, or maybe started the initiate checkout process and then just dropped out, or even completed the full purchase. So the pixel would give you insights into that. And from this pixel, for example, you can create a custom audience of people who added something to their basket, but didn't end up buying. So you can retarget those so that you make sure they actually buy. Why? Because you know they have a purchase intent. They showed interest. They added an item to their basket. They want to buy your product, but for some reason, they didn't. So why not create a custom audience out of these people and then use them for retargeting? Same rationale works on the engagement custom audience. So for example, on our platforms, again, on Ads Manager particularly, you can create a custom audience of people who engaged with your Facebook page or with your Instagram account. And then you can retarget those as well because you know they are interested in your brand specifically. So there are three different sources. One is the first party data, which is the client's or the advertiser's CRM database. Second is creating a custom audience based on a pixel or an SDK, which we will talk about in much more details in a bit. And then the last one is based on engagement. So knowing you already have a visibility over those who watched your videos, for example, or who engage with your Instagram page or Facebook page, you can use these data to create a custom audience out of it and retarget them. And how does it work? Essentially, you have your data, your CRM data, and we have Facebook's data. And because of the custom audience or the, let's say, list that you upload on our platforms, we are able to match these people that you have offline with online users and see based on different metrics, for example, email, name, telephone, etc. We would know if these people are on Facebook or not, and we would match them. And that's how we are able to retarget them. Okay, so that's essentially how it works. And then moving to lookalike audiences, as I said, lookalike audiences is another way of reaching new people, but more, it's another way of reaching new people that have very similar attributes or values to people you already know. So let's say, from the pixel, because I give the first party data example a lot. Let's say you have your pixel installed on your website, and then you want to create a custom audience of those who bought in the last 2 months, let's say. You can do that based on the pixel. So then you have your custom audience, you have your seed audience. You know these are people interested in buying your brand and they actually bought it. You want to target those who have very similar attributes, who might be interested in buying your product as well. So you would create a lookalike audience out of this custom audience, and then you would retarget them. But those would be people who haven't bought ever from your brand. So you can consider them as acquiring new customers. So lookalikes basically is not a retargeting approach, is not suitable for a retargeting approach. It's more of a prospecting approach. And by prospecting, we mean reaching out to completely new people who have never bought from your website, versus retargeting, which is people who showed interest or maybe actually landed on your website at some point or added something to basket or even bought, and you want to retarget them. So these are the two distinctions. And lookalike audience is actually a very powerful tool for acquiring new customers, because you're telling the system that I know the people that I want to reach. I want you to search for those who have very similar attributes to those I want. And I want you to do whatever you can do to make them convert if possible, by setting, of course, the right inputs in the system. And then we can talk about how you can set up campaigns, exactly where to input things and why, so that you get the best possible outcomes out of it. And on that note, I highly recommend you guys, if you have any campaigns that you want to launch on your Ads Manager, to just book a half an hour with me. We can look at your account, and then I can advise you on what to do and explain every single detail. So as I said, with lookalike audiences, you can find people who share similar characteristics with people who have already expressed business interest in your business. And then it helps you with lookalike audiences, you're basically using, just let me finish all the animation. You're basically using high relevant seed audiences through data segmentation. So you have your own data, you want to segment it the way you want, and then you want to create your audiences and your custom audiences and lookalike audiences the way you want based on the user journey. You're using high quality data because this is your data. You know what to do with it, you understand it, you have full visibility, and you can leverage it as much as possible as long as you have it. You can avoid broad lookalike audience sources. So when creating a lookalike audience, you have different percentages. The lower the percentage is, the more it's closer to the seed audience that you have inputted. The higher it is, the broader the audience is. So always as a start, try to narrow it down, maybe like start with lookalikes of 2 to 3% or 3 to 5%. And then once you reach a specific, let's say, stagnation, you can start considering increasing this percentage so that you start reaching newer people or more people. And then this is all because of the fact that the quality of the audience is more important than the audience size. So just make sure that in your prospecting strategy, you always try to leverage your first party data as much as you can. And we can talk about this later. Always test different strategies. Perhaps for you, your a broad targeting, so just adding Saudi as a location, women, let's say, and then the Arabic language with specific interests like sustainable design or fashion or whatever. This works more for you than creating a lookalike audience out of your CRM database. This might be the case. The best way to know it is through testing. And we can talk about, I think actually Dimple, our measurement expert, tapped on this on A/B testing, lift testing, etc. So I highly, highly recommend you guys to use our measurement tools to understand what works best for your brands. Okay, so before I move on to the signals part, do you guys have any question regarding targeting?
Can you show us how to actually do it on the Facebook platform?
Yes. Oh, no, sorry. What screen can you see? Can you see my ads manager?
We can see that you just, yeah, we can see ads manager.
Okay, let me, wait. Sorry, I had to stop sharing. Okay. I'm just trying to open an ads manager.
Okay.
Like my personal ads manager, because okay, got it. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, perfect. We can see it on the ads
Oh.
manager campaign. Yeah.
Perfect. And you can see like zoom on the side. Do I minimize it like this?
No, that's perfect. I can see your screen fully, and then you're on the side then, yeah.
Okay, perfect. So this is my sister's business, okay? She opened kind of a brand called Cyber Witch, and I was helping her in kind of raising awareness around it. Okay, so first, when you want to create a campaign, this is like the basic. You click on the green button here. And then let's say you want to create a reach objective campaign. A reach objective campaign is essentially, it will optimize for reaching as many people as possible. That would be the main goal of the campaign and what you want to do. So if this is an objective, you would choose the reach objective, for example. So we have 3 different layers here. This is the campaign level. Under it, you have what we call the ad set level, which is essentially where you input everything related to your target. And then the last one is the ad level, which is where you create your ad. So it's all about the creative, the asset, the redirection link, the caption, and everything. Okay. So on the campaign level, let's say you choose the buying type, which is either auction or reach and frequency. You choose the objective. If you have any A/B test, you can enable it here. And then you can set up the budget here. Let's say I want to put a lifetime budget of $700. Okay. Then you move to the ad set level, which is the target, right? You choose your Facebook page, okay? And then the budget is set on the campaign level, or you can even do it here. Then you input the start date and end date based on how long your campaign will be running for. And then here, okay. And then here in the custom audience, you would choose, for example, before we do the custom audience thing, let's go to the demographics. So here you have the location. I want to target, for example, Saudi. Okay. You can even decide to drop a pin, as you can see it here, or you can, for example, you want Jeddah, Makkah region, Saudi Arabia. You can even target a city. Okay, and then you can even play around with the radius. So you can, the circle that you see, you can increase it or decrease it depending on who you want to reach. And then on the age level, you can choose here, let's say, I don't know, 23 to 60, okay? Gender, you can choose either all, men or women, let's say women. And here, if you want to just focus on broad or core audience using Facebook's data or Facebook's input, here you can add, for example, specific interests like fashion. It's a bit slow. Okay, let's say shopping and fashion. Let's say sustainable fashion. Okay, etc. You can input as many interests and behavior as you want, and then you can also click on the suggestions based on what you input, what you added here, or even browse different categories. So based on demographics, education, financial, etc., you can browse the list here and add whatever is relevant to you, or the interest or behaviors, and even more categories. But sometimes this would be it would depend on the country, because not all categories are available in all markets. Okay, and then in the language here, for example, I want to target only Arabic speakers, or if you want those who have their user interface in Arabic, which means that my Instagram app or my Facebook app is specifically it's all in Arabic, not in English. So this is basically how it would work. Or it would target those who actually it would target those who interact with Arabic content more than English on our family of apps. Okay, and then here you choose the placement strategy. So who do you want to target and where? We know who we want to target. We put the broad core audience. And then where do I want to target them? On which placements? So obviously, we would recommend to leverage automatic placements, because that way you are telling the system, I want to target all your placements, but my goal is reach. So please show the ad on the right placement so that you make sure that you get me the highest reach. And if based on the data and the algorithm and all the learnings, let's say showing your ad on Instagram feed would generate a higher reach for you, for example, I'm saying anything, it would show your ad more on Instagram feed. So it would favor the placement based on the input and the goal that you have. If it's, let's say, video views, and a specific placement would work more given your ads and your input and everything, then it would show it on that placement. So here we really recommend advertisers to leverage the machine learning as much as possible, because it will show the right ad to the right person at the right time. And if you don't want to do it, you can click on manual placements. And then here, as I said, you can also target devices, for example, desktop or mobile, etc. And then on platforms, let's say I want to do manual placements. I just want to target Facebook and Instagram. And then here you can see the details of exactly which placements you are targeting. So a Facebook feed, Instagram feed, marketplace, let's say I don't want video feeds, okay? You can just tick and untick whatever is relevant to you. It shows you everything, okay? And then here, as I said, in the devices and operating systems, like everything, you can add them here. So if you want iOS devices only, let's say, you can even add the devices that you want, or you can even exclude certain devices. As we said, you can add the versions, like it should be like the minimum for iOS 13 and then and plus, for example. And then here, there's everything related to brand safety. So if you don't want to include your brand next to a content that you think is not relevant for you, and this applies on specific placements like InStream, for example, you can add the block list here, or like filter out the categories where you don't want your content to appear. And then here you would choose the optimization goal. So because you have chosen the reach objective, your optimization for ad delivery would be the reach. This is what would be recommended. You can even go to impressions if for example, your ad is not delivering enough, or you want to optimize for impressions, so people seeing your ad more often rather than just expanding your reach. So you can do that here as well. But we would recommend for that, in that case, to go with reach. And then you can even cap the frequency. So you can tell the system, I want you to show my ads at least twice every 7 days, or maybe 3 times every 10 days. Okay, you can add that here. And then once that is done, you can see here on the right side, the estimated audience size. So how many people you can anticipate to reach, and you can obviously increase it. So let's say here it's just because it's women. Let's say I want to target all genders. You see how now it's higher. So it can show you everything. And then on the ad level, you would again choose the page. You would choose the Instagram account. You can choose whether you want to create a single image or video, a carousel, a collection. If you need another session about the different ad formats as well, we can do it. But I think Fizo and Samer covered that already. And then you can add your caption, your website URL, and then everything here. And then once you're done, you can just create on publish, and then your campaign would go live. Let's say you want to create a custom audience. So you would go to the audience section. I can show it to you after. But then here, let's say once you upload your Excel sheet, your first party data, you would see it in the custom audience section here. Okay, and you can click on it and choose it. Or even if you created the lookalike, you can also go to the lookalike section and then create it here and choose it here. Okay, and obviously once you add a lookalike audience or a custom audience, this number will decrease because this is a more narrower audience. It's more limited than going as broad as possible, but then it's based on very qualitative data for you. So I don't want to publish anything, so I just discard the draft. Okay. If I want to create a custom audience, okay. So because I don't have anything, it shows, I mean, this is how it would show the audience section. If you already have a custom audience or a lookalike created, this section would look a bit different, and you would have a different button to start creating a new custom audience because you've already done that. So for those who haven't done this, this is how it would look like. You can click on create custom audience. Let's say I want to create a custom audience based on my customer list, okay, which is my CRM data, for example. And then you click on next. Here, I mean, I don't have an Excel file to show you how it would work or how it would look like. But then if you have the template ready, you can just download, you can just, create it here based on these inputs. So make sure that you include the email, the phone number, first name, last name, anything that is relevant. So the more input you give the system, the better the matching. Because as we said, we have your data, we have Facebook data, and the more information you give us about your data, the better we are at matching it to people who are on our platforms. So then here you prepare the list, you select the list, you add your customers, you map it, you upload it, and then you confirm it. You have your custom audience already created. And then if you want to create a lookalike out of it, here you would choose, let's say you would choose the source that you want. So I want it based on my pixel, let's say. I don't have a pixel here, so I'm very surprised that it shows a pixel for me. And then, okay, so let's say here you choose the pixel, then you want to select the audience, let's say Saudi, the number of lookalike audiences, you can choose how many you want to create. And here, as I said, we can choose different percentages. So you can start with 1% is the closest to your seed audience. The higher you go, and when you actually have a custom audience, you will see the size of the audience increase as well. The bigger the audience size is, which means it still has very similar characteristic to your custom audience that you created, but it's less accurate, let's say, than if you are leveraging 1% or 2%. But that said, we still recommend sometimes to go high in the percentage, just because sometimes you reach a stagnation and you want to reach these new people. So let's say you already reached these 1% or 2% who look like your custom audience. Now it's a matter of going broader and reaching more people, like 4%, removing the first 2% that you already reached. Maybe it's a bit too technical, but this is how you would start thinking of your targeting strategy moving forward, depending on the results and everything, of course. So this is how it would look like. Was this helpful? Do you want me to show you more details?
This was so helpful. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Let me share my presentation again. So just one second. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, back on signals.
Okay. So in this section, we will show you how through different signals that we have, whether it's a pixel, whether it's an SDK, whether even if it's a server, we show you how we are able for you to reach the audience that you want to reach, understand more about this audience, and essentially how it would help you in reporting and tracking your progress, and in just even calculating your return on ad spend, which is obviously the main goal of this whole activation. So to complete the whole customer journey view, many advertisers today are relying on cookies and device IDs. Okay, so whether, let's say, ideally an advertiser would have a website and then an application as well. It depends on the business model and everything, and whether it's relevant to have both. Let's say in this scenario, we have both, and you have a customer that actually that visits both websites. Let's say on your pixel, you would have the pixel signal, and then on your app, you would have the SDK. We call it SDK ID. Okay, which is essentially, it's the same thing. It does the same thing, just one is on the website and one is on the app. And it's a piece, it's really like, just to simplify it as much as possible, it's a piece of code that you add on the website or on the app so that you are able to identify every step of your user on your website or on your app. And then from this pixel and from this SDK, we gather this data, and then you pass it back to the Facebook server, and then so that it feeds the algorithm, and that we are able to optimize based on the data and input that we have from the pixel and the SDK. On different rules that you have. For example, you want to target, as I said before, people who added something to your basket but didn't buy, or people who viewed something on your content but didn't add something to basket, or just people who visited any page on your website, similar to the app as well. And then you can even go to the details, like I want those who bought twice on my website in the past month, for example. So it can be that detailed. So this would help you in your targeting capabilities. And it's a very powerful tool because you actually know a lot about these audiences, and it's personalized. So, and we'll talk about how you can personalize it through dynamic ads. But with the pixel, you're showing them relevant things. So let's say, if I already, let's say, added something to cart, a specific item, let's say, and you want to retarget me, your messaging can be very tailored to depending on where I am in your user funnel. So for example, I added something, I didn't buy it. Your ad, if you are retargeting those who have the similar behavior as me, your ad can be like, grab it before it's gone, or just creating a sense of scarcity around your product itself. So you can really tailor your messaging based on where you know your user is in the journey. So are you raising awareness? Is this a new customer? Is this a returning customer? Based on that, you can really understand it from the pixel. You can create this custom audience based on your pixel and then retarget them, and your whole messaging and content strategy would be also based on that. It also helps you measure and gain insights. It helps you measure why, because if you have the pixel on your website or on your SDK, if let's say I am at the last level and I'm actually buying something, the pixel would fire when I complete a purchase. And this is like, I'm not going to go through how technically it's done, but you would set these rules before. Let's say your dev team would be the right person if you want to understand more about this, or we can have another session about that. But let's say I'm at the purchase level, I buy something, the pixel is firing. This would count as one conversion or one sale, let's say, or one purchase on Ads Manager. And the more people are buying, or the more people are adding something to cart or viewing something, maybe initiating checkout, any event that is relevant to you, and that is a standard event, you will be able to see it reflected directly on Ads Manager. So in the main dashboard where you have the campaign, you have the amount spent, reach, impression, everything, you'll have all this data in one place, and you're able to see how much returns your campaign are generating. That's why it's very crucial for measurement, for reporting, for tracking, and for gaining insights. And then finally, for optimizing. So you can ask the system to optimize for any given event that you want. So if I want to create a lower funnel campaign, and by lower funnel, I mean ensuring people actually buy. So I want them to buy. I don't want to raise awareness anymore. I don't want to drive traffic or consideration to my website anymore. I want them to buy. So you can create a conversion campaign, which is an objective that we have, or a catalog sales campaign, which is a different objective that we have for lower funnel specifically. And you can tell the system, similar to what we saw on Ads Manager, you can optimize for reach. You can actually say, I want to optimize for an actual purchase. And then the system would deliver your ad to those who are most likely to buy. And this is why it's very important to have a Facebook pixel installed and have it gain as much insights and data as possible, because that's what would feed our system to optimize better and generate the best results for you. Now, we talked about different website events on the pixel. So what type of event are we talking about? So we have the standard events, which is view content, add to cart, or purchase. It's very straightforward. View content is basically when someone views an item in your catalog or on your website, let's say. It's the product page where you see the description, where you have the option to add it to cart or not. This is where you would place this particular event. And then you have it on add to cart. So if I click on add to cart, the pixel will automatically fire that user X added this to cart, which means that you have one conversion that is tracked on Ads Manager. And then the purchase, which is when someone finalizes a purchase and buys something, okay? And then you have different parameters under each event. So let's say I'm viewing a product on your website. If you have all these parameters installed, you will be able to know what is the content type that they are looking at, what category is it, what is the ID, because if you have a proper inventory, obviously you have a product ID for everything. And then what is the quantity that was bought? What is the ID? What is the quantity? What is the type? So you have a lot of visibility and insights on what is being done on your website. And that's why it's very important to have the tech foundation set up properly. And I would really advise you to, if this is not your, let's say, strength or your main domain, I would really advise you to partner with a developer, or if you already have a developer in your startup, maybe try to implement this correctly from the start. And then that said, now that we are moving into a cookieless world as well, it's more and more important to build signal resiliency. And on top of us moving into a cookieless world where we no longer are going to rely on cookies or pixels, it's more and more important for advertisers to build signal resilience on top of things happening like the Apple announcement for iOS 14, maybe Android at some point will do the same. So the trend is moving that way, right? And our job is to help advertisers as much as possible to build signal resilience and to preserve and reduce the loss of data as much as possible by giving the advertisers more control over their data, more visibility. And that can be done through implementing a server from their side. Now, it's very technical. I'm not going to go through the details, just for you to know that we have Conversions API, or what we used to call a server-to-server integration, where advertisers don't just rely on the pixel itself, but on top of it, they add a server that helps them give more visibility, more control of the data. It's directly passed back to Facebook server rather than going through the web server. So that way you are preserving your data and it's more qualitative, and you are reducing the loss of data as much as possible and still reflecting positively on your dashboards. Okay, so at some point, if you are planning on building your website, adding a pixel to it, finishing all the tech foundation properly, just ensure that you have Conversions API also taken into consideration when you are building your tech foundation, because this is where the ecosystem is moving. And then, as we said, just maybe to summarize it, the solutions that are powered by the pixel is first the targeting. So you understand much more about your audience. You can use these insights that you have to create specific custom audiences and retarget them, which goes to the custom audience creation. And then we have dynamic ads, and I'm going to tap into that if we still have time. We still have 10 minutes, so we're fine. And then we have value-based lookalike audiences. So these are 4 solutions that are powered by the pixel. We covered the first 2. Now let's talk more about dynamic ads. So dynamic ads are a, let's say, personalized approach for advertisers to create their ads, where they don't have to really input specific assets or creatives, but instead you can rely on your whole inventory and on the machine learning to show the right ad to the right person at the right time. And it's done automatically and dynamically. So let's go back to the example of, I want to create a catalog sales objective. Catalog sales objective is one of the lower funnel objectives that we have that essentially optimizes for an actual sale. So let's say I want to leverage this objective. I want to target all men and women in Saudi Arabia. I want to keep it as broad as possible and maybe add a few inputs on, I don't know, language, okay? Or like define the age range. If you are leveraging dynamic ads, let's say, for example, based on my behavior on our platforms, based on what I have interacted with, based on the signals that is captured through pixels, etc., the system knows that I am more interested in shoes, okay? But I am a woman and I am in this target audience. Let's say Sinead is also in that same target audience, but Sinead is more interested in apparel rather than shoes. If your website, if you cover shoes, accessories, apparel, and everything, but me and Sinead are in the same target audience, Sinead will see ads that are only showing her dynamically apparel pictures, let's say, or apparel items from your website. Whereas for me, I will be seeing more shoes related content, because based on the system, this is what I'm interested in. And this is why we are saying it's a very personalized approach, because it really shows you or shows the user what they are mostly interested in. And it works for broad audiences as well as for retargeting. So broad audiences is the example that I just gave about me and Sinead. For retargeting, it's still the same, but it has more details because it knows what I actually saw on the website, and then it can retarget me with these items, for example, or something that is similar to these items that I might be interested in as well. So this is the power of dynamic ads. And every e-retailer, every advertiser that has their own website, that have their own apps, are very heavy users of dynamic ads because this solution proved to be very effective when it comes to generating sales and generating high return on ad spends. Okay, and then on top of it, in the retargeting section particularly, you can also do what we call cross-selling and upselling. So here is where you input specific conditions. Let's say, for example, if Mia has seen anything from this catalog that I created, which is, let's say, all my new items for apparel, let's say, I want to retarget her with, I don't know, accessories, something that would, let's say we're talking about cross-sell, because let's say a scarf would go good with anything that's apparel. Let's say I want to cross-sell her this, or upselling, like I want to target for everybody who saw any of my products in the, let's say, sweatshirt catalog. Let's say you created a catalog for sweatshirt or sweaters. I want to retarget them with a higher value sweater. For example, I'm saying really like any example, just don't take me word by word. Okay, so this is really the power of dynamic ads, retargeting, whether it's on prospecting, so going broad, acquiring new customers, or retargeting, or even upselling and cross-selling. Okay, and essentially the goal of it is to convert shopping intent into actual purchases. Okay, and then it also helps you capture intent in more places. So for example, as I said, the example that I gave, based on the behavior and the interest that I have showed on our family of apps and what I interact with, this is what the signal would feed off. This is what dynamic ads would feed off, and this is how it would actually deliver the ads to you. Okay. And then if we are to maybe go through more details, I'll just talk about it very quickly and then leave some time for questions. For dynamic ads, the most essential thing is to have your source feed, or if you want in a more simplified term, your inventory. So the source feed or the catalog that I keep mentioning is basically your inventory. What do you have on your website? What do you have on your app? What is the product name? What is the price? Is it available? Is it out of stock? Is it on sale? What category is it, etc. So you will have all these information, which you already have in your inventory anyway, and you would upload it on our system. And then you would create what we call a catalog feed, which is, as I said, your catalog, your inventory. You see the product image, and then you see all the information related to it. And then from this catalog feed, you create what we call the product set. So a catalog feed is basically all the inventory. A product set is, for example, a mini catalog, let's say, if you want just to simplify things, of specific categories. So a product set for apparel, a product set for accessories, a product set for all shoes under 1,000 dirham, okay, or Saudi riyal. Okay, so you can define whatever you want, and then you can use these product set to create dynamic ads. You don't have to input any creative, you don't have to add any image, although we do recommend to have like just a static visual or a video, just to tell people like, okay, this is my brand, and then you have the product shots just based on people's interest, where they can just browse and see and then click on it, probably end up on the website. So but essentially it has, you need to worry less about creatives than, let's say, when you are thinking about raising awareness or consideration, etc. If you are leveraging dynamic ads, if you still want to do something on lower funnel, but not leverage dynamic ads, then yes, creative would still be a big part of it. And this is an example of a catalog setup. So you have your catalog, you have the product set, let's say this is apparel, and then under it you have, let's say, apparel that is under 10,000 dirhams and one that is above 10,000 dirhams, let's say, for example. And here you have like how it would look like. And it really depends on your approach. What do you want to sell? How do you want to sell it? How do you want to show it? What goes well with what? Maybe not all your products go well together. Maybe you just want to focus on something specific. Maybe you have a new product launch, you want to focus on that, so you would create a product set just for that. So you can do whatever you want, but just try to not to minimize it so that the system has enough signals to work with. And then when you upload what we call the data source feed. These are the information that we would need, like what is the name of the product, with the description, the price, and everything. When you create a dynamic ad, the price is even dynamic. So you just put the column of the price, and then based on the back end, what's happening in the data source feed, how often it's updated, it would update automatically on Ads Manager in the dynamic ad. So no need for you guys to do really anything. Just as long as you keep a very healthy inventory in the back end, and you make sure that your foundation is solid and it's done properly, you don't need to worry about anything. And then this is more in detail, like the images that you wish to show in your ad. It's usually pulled out from your website. So just make sure that it has a very high quality. It's following the specs that we would recommend, so that actually shows on our placements. And this, again, I mean, this can be done with your dev team, or if you want in our office hours, we can also have a look and advise you. And that is it for today. I know I spoke a lot and I speak a bit fast. So if you have any questions, please let me know. And if we don't have enough time anymore, we can always schedule some time in my calendar. Sinead, would put us in touch so that we can find something. And thank you so much for listening.
Thanks a million, Mia. Does anyone have any questions? So close to the dot, 10:59. Very good. Well, we've the session recorded anyway. There was I definitely was following along in a lot of those parts. I'll be using them. But also, guys, I have an Excel sheet that's sent out, and on the first and second tab, that's where you can book in time with either Facebook or Shellhoop experts. So make sure to give a look at that. And on the third tab will be all the recording links, so you can go back in and find that. But yeah, thanks a million, Mia, for jumping on. Sorry, because it's early morning, as you can see, not everyone is bright and bubbly. But thanks a million, we really appreciate it. And thanks again, designers, for coming on. Tomorrow again, there's another tool session with Rafi. Make sure to go in and accept the invite, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mia.
Yeah.
Have a nice
Bye,
day.
guys. Thank you.